So landing a JavaScript job feels great, but then the feeling starts creeping in that you are a JavaScript imposter and it's more of a survival challenge than a job. That's why I thought we should take a look at the guidelines on how to write JavaScript from these corporations. For your JavaScript files, always use lowercase. For punctuations, you can use the dash or the underscore. Always encode your files with U. Although JavaScript is flexible here, you should always end your statement with a semicolon. Don't use var, instead go for const, and if you can't use a const, then use a let. And also don't declare two variables in the same statement. Never set variables to undefined. That can be a real foot gun, which is a gun that you use to shoot yourself in the foot. If you want to set a variable to empty, you should use null. Let's look at two things here. First, use spaces around your operators. Second thing is to use a trailing comma, and this goes for arrays and for objects. Because then, if I were to add another element to this array, then the version history would only detect my new line and not a change on the previous line. Okay, let's talk indentation, which is a really scary topic. But I would suggest going for two spaces. Of course, when you code, you can use a tab and then have your editor convert your tab into double spaces. Always use strict equality. We don't want type conversions like the first example shows. Don't use the variadic constructor to construct arrays. In the first example, we're passing in a duck and everything seems fine, but then we pass in the integer 2, and then we don't get an array with a 2 in it, we get an array of length 2 with two undefined values. Instead, we can use the array literal, which will work the same way if you pass in integers or a parrot. And don't add non-numeric properties on your arrays, like the third example where we said that this array has only dinosaurs. Even though it's valid, it can create some really confusing bugs. If you need to do this, you should instead go for an object or a map. When an exceptional case occurs, throw an instance of the error class or a subclass of the error class. Never throw a string or any other object. The new keyword should be used when you construct. Don't use the for in loop since it has some unwanted quirks. Instead, rely on the for of loop. Here is one way to loop through an object using the for of. Don't use the backslash as a line continuation sign. It's better to split up the string and use pluses, but even better is to use the template literal string as the third example, and then you can interpolate values like this as well. Your switch statements must contain a default case, even if there is no code there. You break the switch with a break keyword or a return statement, and if you fall through a case, you should comment that, like in case 1 here. Don't use with in JavaScript. In this example, we're passing in a fox as the x parameter, but then there's a property of x on the object that is used in the with statement, and therefore x is the frog in the object instead of the fox. Also, don't use eval unless you love danger.